Right.
How you at?
Oh, it's cool.
Damn!
It wasn't during a stand-up performance. It wasn't on a TV set. It was the laughter of Smokey, the role that catapulted Chris Tucker from an unknown name to a cultural legend overnight with Friday in 1995. Smokey quickly became an icon, a piece of memory everyone recalled with a smile. But then when the sequel was released, Chris Tucker was gone. Not a single scene, not a single explanation. Only rumors remained. Was it about money, a falling out, or some deeper secret? For nearly 3 decades, Hollywood and fans around the world waited for an answer. And finally, at age 53, Chris Tucker broke the silence. His confession didn't just reveal the truth behind his mysterious disappearance, it also offered an entirely new perspective on the man behind Smokey's laugh. From poor Atlanta to the legendary Smokey. To understand why, at the age of 53, Chris Tucker finally chose to speak the truth behind nearly 3 decades of rumors, we have to go back to the beginning, to a time when laughter was both a shield for a poor boy in Atlanta and the key that would one day unlock the gates of Hollywood. Chris Tucker was born on August 31, 1971, in Atlanta, Georgia, as one of 6 children in a large family. His parents worked tirelessly to support the household, and Tucker, with his quick wit and playful nature, soon found his own way to stand out by making people laugh. Even in elementary school, the skinny boy was making classmates and teachers burst into laughter with his impersonations of Michael Jackson, Eddie Murphy, and Richard Pryor. Laughter wasn't just a pastime, it was how Tucker softened the sting of poverty and transformed scarcity into a stage for imagination. As a teenager, Tucker's passion for comedy deepened. He rewatched endless footage of Richard Pryor practicing in front of the mirror to master timing rhythm, and added his own flavor, rapid speech, high-pitched voice, and animated facial and body expressions. After graduating from Columbia High School in Decatur, he made a bold decision to leave Atlanta for Los Angeles, chasing the dream of becoming a stand-up comedian. His early days in California were anything but easy. Tucker took on odd jobs to survive, waiting tables, delivering goods, cleaning houses. But at night, he roamed the city's small comedy clubs. The pay was meager, the crowds sparse, but Tucker treated it like a real education. He honed every bit, sharpened his improv skills, and gradually crafted a unique style, rapid-fire delivery, relentless storytelling, and endearing celebrity impressions. The breakthrough came when Tucker appeared on HBO's Def Comedy Jam in the early 1990s. After just a few performances, he made a name for himself. People called him the scene stealer, because once he hit the mic, it was nearly impossible to look away. With his wiry frame, sharp eyes, and explosive energy, Tucker quickly moved beyond the club circuit and began closing in on Hollywood. The turning point came in 1995. Tucker was cast in Friday, a low-budget comedy film written by Ice Cube and DJ Pooh, with a budget of just $3.5 million. The role of Smokey, a lazy, weed-smoking but lovable loudmouth, seemed tailor-made for Tucker. His paycheck was only around $10,000, but it was a golden opportunity to prove himself. Tucker transformed Smokey into an icon. With his gift for improvisation, he infused the character with unforgettable lines, many of which weren't in the script. One of them, "You got knocked the F out," became a street catchphrase for years to come. When Friday hit theaters, few expected the modest little film to gross over $28 million, or 8 times its budget. For the black community, it wasn't just a comedy. It was a raw, honest portrayal of neighborhood life and characters who were as wild as they were relatable. Friday's success turned Chris Tucker from a no-name into a breakout star overnight. His fame spread rapidly. He went on to star in Money Talks 1997, which solidified his place in Hollywood, and The Fifth Element 1997, where his role as the flamboyant Ruby Road left a mark on global audiences. The peak came with the Rush Hour franchise, which made Tucker one of the most famous action comedy stars in the world. By 2007, he had become the highest-paid actor in Hollywood, earning $25 million for Rush Hour 3. And yet, just when he was at the height of success, Tucker took a surprising step back from the role that made him famous. When Next Friday entered production in 2000, everyone assumed he would return. The studio was ready to offer him a massive paycheck, thousands of times more than his original $10,000, but Tucker said no. His decision ignited a wave of speculation. Some claimed he had fallen out with Ice Cube. Others said the paycheck wasn't enough. Still others believed Tucker didn't want to be typecast as an irresponsible stoner. From that point on, Tucker became something of an enigma. Outside the Rush Hour franchise, He made very few screen appearances, carefully selecting his roles. The silence only made the public more curious. Why would a star who had it all, fame, talent, fortune, turn his back on the very role that launched him? Why would he walk away from a cultural phenomenon, leaving behind a void no one could truly fill? A confirmation at 53, faith and integrity above all. For nearly 30 years, Chris Tucker seemed to avoid every question about why he never returned to Friday. Theories about money, personal conflicts, or contract issues continued to circulate unproven, whispered like urban legends. But at age 53, Tucker finally broke the silence. His confirmation didn't just put the rumors to rest, it offered a clearer, deeper portrait of the man behind the legendary character Smokey. Right after Friday's breakout success in 1995, Tucker went through a major turning point in his life. He became a born-again Christian. That spiritual experience changed everything: how he viewed his career, how he chose roles, and most importantly, how he defined himself in the public eye. If Smokey was the symbol of recklessness, irresponsibility, and weed-fueled jokes, then Tucker off-screen no longer wanted that image to follow him forever. In a conversation with Urban Central, Tucker plainly stated that he didn't care about the enormous paycheck producers offered to bring him back. The real reason was faith and conscience. He didn't want to promote substance abuse or risk becoming a role model for young people looking up to Smokey. "I never wanted to be the symbol of a negative lifestyle. That's not who I am, and it's not the message I want to send," he said. That statement cut through decades of speculation like a blade. For years, fans believed Tucker left Friday over money. Even Ice Cube publicly claimed Tucker was offered $10–12 million for next Friday, a huge leap from the $10,000 he earned in the first film. And yet, Tucker walked away. Not because the price wasn't high enough, but because his faith had changed him. To him, $12 million wasn't worth compromising his integrity. In another interview with Georgia Straight, Tucker emphasized that every success in his career, from Friday to Rush Hour, came from divine guidance and his commitment to moral principles. He saw those values as his compass, and if a role violated them, he was willing to walk away even from the character that made him a legend. That's what set Tucker apart from many Hollywood stars, where fame often trumps ethics. He didn't stop there. On The Jonathan Ross Show, Tucker once again clarified he had no regrets about leaving Smokey behind. In fact, he believed that decision helped preserve the character's magic, keeping Smokey frozen in time as a pure, unforgettable memory. "I want Smokey to live on in people's hearts as an immortal memory. As for me, I needed to find roles that matched the path my faith was leading me down." In the context of nearly 30 years of silence, Tucker's confirmation at 53 carries profound weight. It feels like the final chapter of a story long misunderstood. Fans used to argue endlessly. Some believed he left because of tension with Ice Cube, others said he felt underappreciated, or that Hollywood had pushed him out. But now Tucker has revealed a truth far simpler and far more powerful: he chose faith over fortune. It also explains why Tucker's appearances after Friday became so rare. Aside from the Rush Hour franchise, he carefully selected his roles and almost never played characters tied to drugs, profanity, or anything in conflict with his beliefs. To Tucker, acting wasn't just about money or fame, it was a responsibility to society, especially to the young fans who once idolized Smokey. His public confirmation at 53 has changed how the world sees him. No longer the mysteriously vanished star, Tucker now stands as a model of an artist who puts conscience and ethics above everything else. In an industry where millions of dollars often outweigh any principle, Tucker has shown that faith is not for sale. This revelation has also brought closure to longtime fans. The rumors that floated for decades that Tucker left because he didn't want to promote negative imagery, that he prioritized his faith over fame, have now been validated by the man himself. And that truth, though simple, is more powerful than any complex theory. Chris Tucker's story at 53 is not just the ending of an old question. It's a reminder of life's bigger choices, between temptation and conviction, between wealth and values, what truly matters most. And for Tucker, the answer is now clear, a truth he took nearly 3 decades to be ready to share. The Tucker paradox: leaving Friday, but becoming the king of paychecks. If Chris Tucker's departure from Smokey left audiences feeling wistful, then the next chapter of his career opened with a striking paradox. Instead of fading away after turning down the role that made him famous, he climbed to unprecedented heights, becoming one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. In the entertainment industry, this is rare, to reject the very role that built your name only to soar higher on a completely different path. After Friday, Tucker didn't disappear. He starred in Money Talks 1997, directed by Brett Ratner. As Franklin Hatchett, a fast-talking con man caught in a whirlwind of chaos, Tucker showed that he was not limited to Smokey. The film performed solidly at the box office and brought him closer to mainstream stardom. That same year, he took on the eccentric, flamboyant role of Ruby Road in Luc Besson's The Fifth Element. It was a part few actors would dare to accept, but Tucker turned it into one of the film's most memorable highlights, polarizing, yes, but unforgettable. 1997 also marked a major shift when he appeared in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown, albeit in a small role as Beaumont Livingston. The fact that a young comedian like Tucker was cast by Tarantino was proof that he was being taken seriously in the film world. He was no longer just Smokey from Friday, he was now a rising talent in demand. The true peak came with Rush Hour in 1998, a buddy action comedy pairing American and Hong Kong cultures through Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. The film became a global phenomenon. Made on a $33 million budget, Rush Hour grossed $244 million worldwide. Both leads were praised, but it was Tucker who brought the comedic heartbeat, the spark that drew American audiences to theaters. His role as Detective James Carter, loud, hilarious, and endearingly clueless, was like an evolved version of Smokey but polished for the blockbuster audience. This success paved the way for Rush Hour 2 2001, set in Hong Kong. It far outperformed the original, pulling in over $347 million globally. Tucker had now transitioned from a solo comic into an international movie star beloved from the US to Asia. Rush Hour didn't just generate laughs, it bridged East-West culture, and Tucker became the face of that connection. By the time Rush Hour 3 arrived in 2007, Tucker's status hit its zenith. He signed a contract worth $25 million plus a share of the profits, making him the highest-paid actor in Hollywood at that time. That figure eclipsed even A-listers like Tom Cruise, Will Smith, and Eddie Murphy. For someone who once earned just $10,000 for Friday, the leap was like something out of a real-life fairy tale. Here lies the paradox: Tucker turned down millions to return as Smokey, yet earned many times more through Rush Hour. While audiences longed for Smokey's return, Tucker forged ahead, creating a new persona. James Carter didn't carry negative associations, no pot smoking, no profanity-laced tirades, but still had the power to make the world laugh. In a way, Tucker proved he could separate himself from Smokey and still achieve extraordinary success. Compared to his contemporaries, Tucker's achievements stand out even more. Will Smith rose with Men in Black and Independence Day, and Eddie Murphy had dominated comedy in the 80s. But by the late 90s, it was Tucker who signed the biggest paycheck. In an industry where black actors were and often still are paid less than white counterparts, Tucker's record-setting contract was a symbolic victory. Still, with great success came immense pressure. After Rush Hour 3, Tucker largely disappeared from the screen for nearly a decade. Part of it was a desire to rest. Part of it was a lack of roles that genuinely excited him. Tucker's career became like a roller coaster, soaring to great heights, then going quiet. But that made his story all the more unique, a star who didn't need dozens of roles to stay relevant. Just a few defining moments were enough to etch his name into history. The Chris Tucker paradox isn't just a story about leaving Friday but still winning. It reflects a truth about Hollywood itself. The safest choice isn't always the most rewarding. Had Tucker accepted the $12 million offer to reprise Smokey, he might have remained a beloved figure in the Friday franchise, but perhaps not the global star Rush Hour made him. What seemed like a reckless decision turned out to be the bold move that launched him to the top. Today, when people mention Chris Tucker, they may think of Smokey, but his greatest legacy lies in the pay record set by Rush Hour. From a small role in a low-budget film, Tucker redefined success. Not every character needs to be reprised. Not every check must be cashed immediately. Sometimes the power to say no unlocks greater opportunities. And that's the paradox that makes Chris Tucker one of the most distinctive figures in Hollywood. The price of fame, finances, and disappearance. The spotlight of Rush Hour had placed Chris Tucker in a position most comedians could only dream of. He was a global face, the highest-paid actor in Hollywood, a man who rose from an indie film to become an international brand. But behind the laughter, behind the multi-million-dollar glow, a new chapter began to unfold, one of silence, financial trouble, and a mysterious vanishing from the big screen. Right after Rush Hour 3 in 2007, Tucker didn't rush into new projects. While other stars capitalized on their heat with a flurry of blockbusters, he chose silence. Scripts came in, directors made offers, studios were ready to pay top dollar, yet Tucker was barely seen. The media kept asking why would a star at his peak suddenly disappear. The answer wasn't simple. Part of it lay in a lavish lifestyle. In the early 2000s, Tucker bought a sprawling mansion in Florida, splurged on luxury cars, and spent freely as if the money would never run out. The massive rush hour contracts gave him confidence that his golden age would last forever. But when the income slowed, that lifestyle became a burden. By 2011, news broke that Tucker owed over $11 million in unpaid taxes, a revelation that shocked the public. From a multi-million-dollar icon, he had become a cautionary tale of poor financial management. Tucker not only owed taxes, he had to sell off assets to stay afloat. The once envied Florida mansion was listed for sale. The luxury cars slowly disappeared from the garage. The glossy image once featured in magazines became just a memory. Fans who had admired the sharp-witted comic now saw a man juggling massive debts, making his absence from the screen even more puzzling. But finances were only half the story. The rest stemmed from Tucker's spiritual journey. After becoming a born-again Christian, he no longer had interest in roles laced with profanity, violence, or drug use elements that are often staples in mainstream comedy action films. His conviction narrowed his options. Producers still wanted the wisecracking, outrageous Tucker, but he sought out roles with positive messages. The gap between demand and desire widened, and Tucker found himself stepping away from projects that didn't align with his beliefs. From 2007 to 2012, Tucker appeared in virtually no major films. In those 5 years, the only glimpses fans got were occasional stand-up shows, charity appearances, or faith-based events. Hollywood is a machine that never slows down, and for a star to vanish even a few years, the spotlight is quick to shift to newer faces. For Tucker, the silence stretched nearly a decade, and his career teetered on the edge of fading from public memory. Still, even after the quiet years, Tucker managed key comebacks. Each time he appeared, however briefly, it reminded audiences that his machine gun-style laugh hadn't gone quiet. The first major return was Silver Linings Playbook 2012, where Tucker played Danny McDaniels, a fellow patient in a mental health facility. Though a supporting role, his performance in an Oscar-nominated film showed he hadn't lost his natural comedic timing or audience appeal. 4 years later, he returned in Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk 2016, directed by Ang Lee playing Sergeant Vogue, a serious, restrained role that proved Tucker was willing to explore new dimensions in his craft. Between those projects, Tucker returned to his roots stand-up comedy. Chris Tucker Live 2015. His first Netflix comedy special brought his signature, fast-paced humor, sharp impersonations, and storytelling to a global audience. It didn't go viral as some hoped, but it reaffirmed one thing: Tucker still had fire for the stage. In 2023, Tucker surprised audiences again with Era film chronicling the historic Nike Michael Jordan deal. He played Howard White, Nike's VP of Athlete Relations, delivering a performance that balanced comedy with gravitas. Many considered it his most mature role since Rush Hour, potentially signaling a new chapter for his acting career. Meanwhile, rumors of Rush Hour 4 and Last Friday have continued to circulate. Jackie Chan confirmed that both he and Tucker have discussed a reunion, while Ice Cube revealed that the Last Friday script includes a reimagined Smokey now in rehab, a respectful way to honor both the character's age and Tucker's Christian values. However, as of now, both projects remain in development limbo with no official start dates. Life beyond the spotlight. Behind the roaring laughter and multi-million-dollar paychecks, Chris Tucker chose a life that stood in stark contrast to Hollywood's usual glamour. Few know that at 53 he no longer wishes to be remembered solely as a movie star, but as a devoted father, an active community member, and someone deeply committed to philanthropy. Chris Tucker once had a brief marriage with Ozia Pryor, a health coach and personal trainer. Though their marriage lasted only a few years in the early 2000s, it gave him his most treasured gift, a son, Destin Christopher Tucker, born in 1998. Unlike many celebrities who pour most of their energy into their careers, Tucker made a conscious decision to slow down and fully embrace fatherhood. He wanted his son to grow up not under the heavy shadow of Hollywood, but with a peaceful childhood full of his father's presence. Destin is now a young adult studying film at Morehouse College, one of the most prestigious historically black colleges in America. The choice feels like a continuation of legacy, not through quick fame, but through a serious educational journey. Tucker often appears with his son at events, and each time the public sees a different side of him: calm, content, no longer the quick-talking man on screen, but a proud father simply enjoying the moment. Alongside fatherhood, Tucker also devotes significant time to community work. A major milestone was his involvement with the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, a charity founded by Michael Jackson's family to support underprivileged children in LA. For Tucker, this wasn't just a social obligation, but a way to carry on a deep friendship with the king of pop. Tucker and Jackson's bond was well known. They frequently appeared together, shared religious beliefs, and collaborated on many charitable efforts. After Michael's passing, Tucker remained close with the Jackson family, becoming one of the few public figures who consistently stood by them. In 2022, Tucker was honored with the Man in the Mirror Award by the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, a recognition of his quiet but impactful contributions to the community. It was a rare moment where Tucker stood on stage not to entertain, but to be honored for his heart. For fans used to seeing the witty Smokey or the loudmouth Detective Carter, this was an entirely different yet deeply memorable side of him. Beyond that, Tucker has also participated in numerous charity trips, from supporting natural disaster victims across the U.S. to traveling internationally, particularly in Africa. He believes laughter can heal, but action truly changes lives. That's why during his years away from the screen, he became even closer to the communities that needed more than entertainment, they needed real support. Today, when people mention Chris Tucker, they don't just think of Smokey or James Carter. They remember a reserved man who stays out of scandals, who rarely shares his personal life, who avoids social media, and who never chases the spotlight like many of his peers. Instead, Tucker prioritizes his family, his community, and his faith. This contrast makes him stand out, a Hollywood star who chose to live simply like any regular citizen rather than constantly bask in the limelight. Tucker's life beyond the cameras may not be as dazzling as box office numbers, but it has created a legacy of its own. He is living proof that success isn't measured only by paychecks, but by fatherhood, by impact on others, by being remembered as a complete human being. For Tucker, laughter once took him to the top, but it's his devotion to family and community that ensures he'll be remembered with true respect. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next videos. Which version of Chris Tucker impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments below.